Freestyle the news!
I grew up a middle-class kid.
Fuck a category, my path is an allegory. I'm crashing through half a story, I'm stuck in the high 40. So what you require for me? The AI designer pour me a drink till I think he ain't puppeteering a Tesla sortie. Blinking you miss it, I'm right behind you, no limit. I'm sparking the new additions, don't tell me how you be different. You born in the middle class? Don't edit my 60 minutes, that propaganda be spilling on Twitter. Looking at Jill, it's a full shot. Can't even pull spots, the piece that you wish that you had's whatever J. Cole got. Zachary got his soul dropped, cause he wasn't the new rock. Got the John you might not want, I might blow up your whole spot like the Tropicana. Power out of Dodge, reassess the damage. You handle your angle, the coverage covered on every channel. Political tragedy, editorial masterpiece. Conspiracy theory you shouldn't know, but you have to read about Helene. How much you launder in the bank wires? How many other drops did he till the big trial? How many workers getting laid off or they just fired? When you lower standards and turn your workers to full strikers. How many grifters and bad liars inspired you backbiters? Recycle a genocide when you caught in a bad climate. Use bodies of dead Muslims to push up this white woman and get a bunch of people to subscribe to your podcast. Pick up that big bag, man, everyone's still mad. This month is just propaganda and Halloween grab bags. They fire at peacekeepers, continue to throw frags. Brigade all the new comments, put everyone on blast. That pharmacy might kill you, that genocide might bill you. That AI might take your job and then rewrite your resume into another end of the spectrum. So who the fuck is protected, polling on your death right before the election? Shockwave, you think you safe until the locks break. You standing still until the wall shakes. Cause every day is like a long day, going down the long way. And I've been staring at my phone a long time, hope the post still vibe. Hope I make it past November and I'm still alive. Is you still alright, staying up all night, looking for a little piece you can't find? Cause baby, hold up. Baby, hold up. I am very on brand today, if you can't see. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching Freestyle the News. If you like what you heard, please, instant transmission behind that giant ape like button after charging your power level to an obscene amount where the bar has blue electricity around it and activates your super blast, somehow evening the score, and somehow passing an obscenely hard early test in one of the greatest arena fighters ever made. And leave a comment on your favorite bar. Man, Dragonball Sparking Zero has been bringing up a lot of feelings for a lot of people. It's genuinely cathartic to see the response online and everybody kind of embracing it, because again, these were kind of games that people are like, oh, they're unbalanced, they're just cliche, it's just a million characters, and people are like, yeah, we fucking love that. And quite a few people, everybody from Moist Critical to even like major players in like the fighting game community, are cool with just having a good time with this and finding a little bit of depth to the mechanics. Because there are a lot of interesting mechanics in this game as well. And look, as somebody who works within the fighting game competitive pantheon, to watch games like this get a lot of shine and love and not just like excluded, because I was really frustrated when there was that whole debate about, is Smash a fighting game? And shut the fuck up. Fighting games are fighting games, even if there's differences between platform fighters and traditional 2D fighters and arena fighters. We're there to have a good time, connect with other people who are your friends, and, you know, see who can beat each other's ass. And speaking of that, I got the PC version, and my friends messaged me right after and were like, hey, got it for PS5, so... You know, speaking of having to possibly double dip, hey, do you know that we have merch at toosooncrew.com? Very interesting time to bring that up. But all jokes aside, it's a gorgeous game, really good time, really fun concepts. And if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, absolutely worth picking up. But that being said, let's just jump straight into this breakdown. And man, what a fucking week. It has been absolute panic from jump. With the hurricane and the election and fucking just existing on TikTok or X right now, we are in full-blown election sprint propaganda season, and everything I said at the beginning of the year of how exhausting all the election stuff was going to be this year is like on full display. It has obviously been a lot to take in, so I really advise you guys to pace yourselves. October is going to be a lot. Again, people are still looking for October surprises. Everything is now being transformed into, how does this affect the polls? And the polls themselves have been under a microscope, even though there hasn't been any drastic changes in the top line. But everybody is trying to make a mountain out of every single molehill they find. So please, take everything with a grain of salt as we move forward throughout this month. Check in with your sanity. Don't get exhausted. This is a war of attrition. I got you. But let's start right off the bat with the story that dominated the panic this week, and rightfully so because of what we saw: Hurricane Milton and its aftermath. The biggest, most terrifying premonition this week was Hurricane Milton, a seemingly Category 5 hurricane that at the outset seemed like it would be a once-in-a-century apocalyptic event about to hit Florida, right after Helene. And there was good reason for the fear around it. You had meteorologists like one on NBC crying on air because of how quickly this developed. Again, you had Florida still recovering from Helene. You once again had a lot of people as well who would probably not be able to evacuate or have a place to go. This storm grew in a matter of hours. And in addition to all of that, there was still rampant misinformation going around about the aid for Milton, with many people accusing Kamala Harris of focusing on podcasts and not helping people, as well as people saying all of the FEMA aid that they would possibly get would be stolen and given to illegal immigrants, a chief misinformation lie spread by Donald Trump. Or, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene thinking that Kamala Harris is actually storm in disguise. But thankfully, as you may know now or have heard, Milton ended up downgrading to a Category 3, which is still bad and still devastating, but the damage wasn't as catastrophic as it could have been, which is a relief. But still, there are many places and counties that are flooded or destroyed, and 3.1 million people without power. At the time of recording, 14 people have been killed and nearly 1,000 rescued from floodwaters, and dozens of shelter animals who are in limbo. However, if you do want some actual good news, there have been reports of a lot of people adopting animals in the wake of the hurricane to give them some sort of support and help the shelters out, which is a deeply heartening story. And thankfully, the response to Milton has been very comprehensive, and a lot of lives have been saved because of those evacuation orders. There are a lot of people cutting through the bullshit, wading through everything, trying to come together, and that's very heartening to see in an incredibly polarizing time. Now, that being said, there is still some political tussling. Harris trying to combat disinformation and sparring with DeSantis over her call to Milton. Biden working with DeSantis and praising his efforts. Reports of people upset at Harris for her responses and upset at Trump for the disinformation. I think my takeaway from all this is, A, it's very, very good that things were not as bad as they could have been. Obviously, Florida still needs help and they still went through a lot. But listen, the reports of this were really, really bad. And I'm it's a very good thing that it was not as bad as was reported. But I also feel the timing around the election and the news cycle around the election muddies what is a very difficult moment for people there. And I get the idea that both candidates are going, stop playing political games, but I just think it's sad in general that our politics even interacts with moments like these, like this. Because it feels like as people actively say that and denounce it, they're doing it at the same time, like specifically the media cycle. I mean, the misinformation and people playing political games around this is disgusting and deplorable by every stretch of the imagination. I mean, look at this polling. A brand new survey of people in dire need of assistance say the election isn't really on their minds right now, which, you know, what does that mean for November? Will it affect the enthusiasm gap? Which is not new for the hand-wringing a lot of these election cycles bring, but I mean, it does definitely put into perspective how really, really bad situations, no matter how much you try to come together, are really affected by the amount of spin going on. And I think it's worth examining how we all tend to buy into that. A little bit. But listen, either way, if you or anybody you know or anybody in my audience is affected by Milton, or if you want to donate, I'll leave some links below in the description. Let me know you're okay if you're in any way related to what's happened over there. And I hope you and your family are safe. I hope Florida recovers well. And I think it's always good to help each other out. I know that we're in the worst fucking election month ever, but put that aside and give some love to the people who are trying to make it through right now. We got your back. Over the last month, I've been talking about how exhausting and frustrating of a month October is, especially in election cycles like this one. Everything is ratcheted up to 11 in October. Everyone's looking for October surprises. Everybody's trying to get in your face, run a campaign against your interest, against your fears, anything they know about you to fuck with you, so you either buy their product, vote for them, or fall down a rabbit hole of misinformation. And that's why I think it's reasonably important and worth looking into the sponsor of today's show, Incogni. Once again, full disclosure, I pay for Incogni on my own. I believe in the service. I pay out of pocket, no free plan or anything like that. If you don't know what Incogni is a set it and forget it service that scours the internet for data brokers with your personal information gathered from apps that you may look at, websites, information you have not necessarily given them consent to track or obtain, and goes through all of the hoops and ladders to get your information pulled from those services. This has been an invaluable service for me over the last 2 years, especially as my work becomes more public and as data privacy in the United States gets more and more tenuous. Since signing up for Incogni, I've gotten far less junk mail, I've gotten far less spam calls. Whenever I've signed up for services, there is a larger peace of mind that I have, that I know my information isn't going to be pulled and sold to the highest bidder without my consent. And even if they try, it'll be pulled away before they get the chance. And how do I know that? Incogni gives you monthly status reports on every single takedown notice they've issued, and what's the process, and what's already been pulled. This is when I started Incogni. This is what happened this month. Around election time, like October, the number just punches up. But even still, this has been incredibly helpful because it takes a lot of legwork to try to get your information off of these sites. Stuff like your biometric data, your address, your fucking phone number. And listen, if you go to incogni.com/Tabani and enter in the code Tabani, Incogni is willing to give you 60% off. 60% off? Wow, that's 30% more than that Joker movie got before it, like fumbled the bag. All jokes aside, I really do believe in this. I really do pay for this myself. So if you're tired of spam calls and brand emails, if you are worried about your data and want it to be safe, and if you like this cool rap show that I get to do a lot, go to incogni.com/Tabani, enter in the code Tabani, and get some peace of mind. All right, let's move on and talk about iRobot by Elon Musk, or whatever the fuck this was. Elon Musk held an event unveiling his new line of Optimus robots deemed as C-3PO for your home, as well as the brand new and highly anticipated Tesla Robotaxi. The Robotaxi, which carries on the tradition of the Cybertruck of unfinished car assets somebody forgot to detail in Blender, featured 2 doors and a small demo drive around the block of a set to try to show people the wave of the future. The Optimus robots, however, who are supposed to be C-3PO for your home, were demoed inside serving attendees drinks and hanging out. But it is understandable why Tesla stock took a beating right after this event, which was for investors, by the way. Because A, the Optimus robots were actually manually controlled. Even if the movement was impressive, they weren't autonomous, and it's just kind of like a fancy puppet. And B, Musk's test drive for his taxi was around a set, as opposed to Waymo, which is actually in the field driving people to destinations and being a taxi. And that is frustrating a lot of Tesla investors who are not happy with the lack of progress on these things. And look, I criticize Elon Musk a lot on this show, particularly in the last few years, but while there have been innovations that we can argue that Elon Musk has brought, like the entire EV market, there is something to say about how his push built the universality of EVs being accepted. His contrarianism and myopicness always tend to crash out on things like this, and have been crashing out even when he was like the darling that everybody was making him out to be with all the bullshit around him. Tesla has been having these problems front-facing for years now. These lofty ideas of innovation with little follow-through and quality issues on release. The brand has been hurt significantly over the last few years, obviously because of Musk's crazy political crusades, and also due to the fact that a lot of the competition against Tesla has been catching up. Like, the EV revolution at this point in time has legitimate competitors that often perform better or cost less than a Tesla, like Rivian, the Ioniq 5, the Lucid Air. But look, we'll have to see where Musk goes with this, but that presentation didn't go as well as I think he would have liked it to. But let's move on to J. Cole and his brand new response to the Kendrick and Drake beef. J. Cole dropped a surprising new song called Port Antonio this week, and it has a surprising amount of information and insight about everything that happened in April between Kendrick and Drake. So in the song Port Antonio, Cole says, "I pulled the plug because I've seen where that was about to go. They wanted blood, they wanted clicks to make their pockets grow. They see this fire in my pen and think I'm dodging smoke. I wouldn't have lost the battle, dog. I would have lost a bro. I would have gained a foe. And all for what? Just to attain some more? Props to strangers that don't got a clue what I've been aiming for since the age of 14. Jermaine is no king. If that means that I gotta dig up dirt and pay the whole team of algorithm bot hitters just to sway the whole thing on social media, competing for your favorable memes. To be considered best or live the rest, the weight of both things. I understand the thirst of being first that made them both swing, protecting legacy, so lines got crossed, perhaps regrettably. My friends went to war, I walked away with all the blood on me. Now some will discredit me, try wipe away my pedigree. Oof! Apologies if I got some of that flow wrong. You can go listen to the song in a link in the description, and I'll try to put up a reaction to it soon. But right off the bat, incredible song from Cole. Phenomenal flow throughout the whole song and an absolutely valid take. Months after all this, you still have people beefing over that moment back in April, and while yes, I think that feud was very good for hip-hop, probably the greatest rap beef of all time, people are still living in it many months after, and I feel like that isn't really the most healthy idea. So I get where Cole is coming from. The industry at times builds competition to tear down other rappers because at times fame and hunger gets mixed with this entire social media apparatus that we live in. And this song is critical of that while still realizing that we are addicted and reliant on it. It asks a lot of questions about the media environment we're in and lets the listener grapple with those contradictions, which is where Cole's pen seems to always be the best. And honestly, looking back, I'm pretty glad that Cole made that half-hearted diss and then had to take it down because it brought us to this, an incredibly prescient and important and brilliant J. Cole song, which is an amazing denouement and healing salvo to hip-hop. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Let me know what you think in the comments. And last but not least, let's talk about the Green Party, political trolls and pundits, and the October fucking bullshit fest. So in this nightmare fuel of an October election season, every possible journalist, pundit, or pundjournalist is trying to find a headline that sticks that they can ride the wave on into November. Every hot take imaginable is there. It's like a Willy Wonka's chocolate factory of hot takes. And this year in particular, the Green Party has really been ratcheting up their campaign blitz. They've been putting out more political ads, touring far more, going on podcasts. This is probably the most robust media operation the Green Party has attempted in years. And to preface ahead of this, before we get into all of it, this show has been critical of culture war and political talking points. We've criticized Kamala Harris, we've criticized Donald Trump, the duopoly system, partisan pundits like Harry Sisson, who's a fucking clown. And I'm giving this preamble specifically because of how tense the political environment is right now. So hear me out when I say I'm trying to be nuanced and not shame you. I have to fucking say that. Now, one of the biggest developments for the Greens is this clip of Kshama Sawant in a wild moment explicitly stating that Stein can't win, but their goal in the race is to deny Harris Michigan specifically.
We need everyone here to get active. We need to be clear about what our goals are. We are not in a position to win the White House, but we do have a real opportunity to win something historic. We could deny Kamala Harris the state of Michigan.
This sparked immense backlash and triggered a full-on media apparatus with Stein at the head along with pundits like Madeline Pendleton and breaking out huge rifts between people like Brianna Joy Gray and journalist Mehdi Hassan, both of whom used to be colleagues. With Brianna leveling serious accusations at Mehdi about an interaction they had, Mehdi labeling Brianna as a grifter who's making up stories, and it's gotten to the point where the Democratic Party has even directly responded with an ad about the Greens. Greens online saying, hey, that's great publicity. So, as for my take on all this, and this is, I have to acknowledge, like, this is very difficult to talk about. There are a dozen ways that every discussion or argument debating or around Stein gets shut down on the internet. You're a single issue voter. Oh, you're pro-genocide and you don't care about Palestinians really. Oh, you just want Trump to win. Oh, you're blue MAGA. Most of those are just bad faith arguments and generally used to stop block discussions altogether. So first off, no to all of that because all of that is untrue and incredibly disingenuous. Now, that being said, speaking of disingenuous, I want to talk about the political optics about all of this because a lot of the tactics being employed by Stein currently are specifically tactics that the Greens have criticized about the Democratic and Republican parties. Like right off the bat, the statement by Kshama Sawant is the most direct ask the Greens have ever made, explicitly with the goal of spoiling. Previously, spoiling was only a hint for the Greens in their marketing strategy, and the idea was more to vote your conscience and launch a protest vote, not specifically to deny a candidate. And the entire idea of this is being framed around the Gaza genocide. But as stated before, with mountains of evidence, Stein has tacitly offered indirect support to other genocidal regimes while saying they're bad in the comments to try to split the difference. In tweets that she conveniently has deleted and has been documented to have deleted. Stein is on record and on video entertaining dangerous conspiracy theories with the whole just asking questions shtick, employed quite a bit by Trump and other political pundits across the spectrum. And that reframe of any criticism of Stein's platform and goals as a tacit support of genocide is very similar to Israel hardliners' frame of anti-Semitism as a direct critique of Israel. I'm saying the tactics employed are literally the exact same in terms of social media messaging and marketing. And I think in the middle of this whole ideological moral battle of who you want to vote for, people forget political parties make fucking money, including the Greens. Politics in campaigning is a huge money pit of donations, content creations, sponsorships, fucking everything. Stein herself has raised about $1.5 million this year, and that's not counting PAC money. That's just cash on hand for her campaign. Now, obviously, that is less than Harris and Trump have raised, which is fucking insane amounts of political funneling. But 1.5 million is not nothing as displayed by the way they are doing this media blitz. And what gets me pissed about this situation specifically is watching people employ pretty transparent marketing tactics to create a permission structure over 8 years saying, oh, it's a choice. It's just a choice. It's just a choice. Until you outright say you want to spoil the election to shift the Overton window, very similar to the two political parties they criticize all the time. That specific tactic is used constantly by Democratic and Republican strategists over multiple election cycles. And if you want an example of other pretty transparent marketing tactics, take Madeline Pendleton. She went viral on TikTok for sharing that she'd been reached out by the Democratic Party and offered money to shill for them.
Did you guys know that the Democratic Party is paying people on TikTok thousands and thousands of dollars to make videos talking about how awesome the Democratic Party is? I know, because they've offered me nearly $15,000 to do just that, to try to take attention away from that whole genocide thing. So, since nobody wants to tell you the Democrats are paying them thousands of dollars to talk about how awesome the Democrats are, I'm going to tell you, you guys should be aware that when you see videos like that, the Democrats are actively paying people to talk about how awesome the Democrats are.
Now, she shared emailed and receipts, to be fair, and if you don't know who Madeline is, she had a business model where she compensated all of her workers with equity, which does deserve credit. She's also a New York Times best-selling author. She's also fucking lying here or being incredibly disingenuous with how she's framing this. Because, and by the way, fuck the DNC. All right. Okay. Just so we get that clear, not trying to cape for anybody here, but everything in her video tries to frame it as if the DNC is directly offering her that money. Everything in her earlier video and the way she speaks about it would dictate that impression, that the Democratic National Committee is directly trying to pay money for people to change their opinion. And anybody with at least 1 million followers who has a New York Times bestseller and the smallest amount of media training, and who ran a business with a pretty heavy marketing push and narrative around that business's structure, knows how the messaging in her video would come across and how that could possibly tie Democrats to the idea that they are paying influencers specifically to lie about their opinion and be on their side for messaging disingenuously. And maybe she really does just really believe in Stein, but she is mad disingenuous. Let's be very real. And if you think that, oh my God, Zed, you're just another fucking Harris shill, you know what? Take the vote out of it for a second. Take that shit out of it. I'll meet you there. There are two types of people who feel disengaged in this election. People who are like, I am never, ever, 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 ever gonna vote for Harris. And people who are on the fence and feel conflicted about the whole fucking thing. And most of the time, people do not engage with the former because they're afraid of scaring away the latter from making a decision to actually vote. But you know what? Fuck it, I'll engage. If you are one of the people who is screaming it is impossible, not if you're on the fence, but if you're somebody who is specifically crossing your arms and like digging your heels in the sand saying, I am voting third party no matter what, I feel no conflicted feelings about it, fuck it, no matter what I'm voting third party, I'm telling you, Do not vote for Jill Stein. There are other third-party candidates, but Jill Stein specifically is a fucking liar. I do not think voting third party is good for Gaza or for democracy, either way. But I think Jill Stein is equally bad no matter what you do. She deliberately and knowingly is diverting electoral power for her own specific bullshit star so she can build her own brand and apparatus. Even when they're given funds, the Green Party, again, has the most robust operation they've had in years. Their goal is specifically and explicitly to spoil. Even if she couldn't win the election, she could use that money to build up political capital to be able to challenge the duopoly. There are legitimate ways she could have done that. But instead, everybody around her, including Brianna fucking Joy, make money off of that political apparatus. They are capitalists who con leftists who are upset and legitimately scared and anxious into being subscribers for their podcast. They are either knowingly grifting or too fucking stupid to tell the difference. And I am not here to shame you. I am here because I hate propaganda, especially propaganda where you get nothing and these guys walk away with an audience to advertise to. And they have a lovely season where they all get paid until the next time where they can bullshit you again and reap the rewards. And by the way, that podcast that Jill Stein went on was a podcast by a MAGA head who asked Jill Stein, hey, would you pardon the January 6th insurrectionists? To which Stein said, you know what, insurrection is bad, but you know, some of the penalties are harsh. So let's look into how harsh those penalties are for January 6th. Oh, fucking okay, Jill. More than just asking questions bullshit about vaccines and 9/11 truthers, which she has done in the past. She reminds me of somebody, you know, like Pinocchio, that guy who takes all those boys when Pinocchio runs away and then they takes them to the circus and they all slowly turn into donkeys and get sold off. That's Jill Stein to me. And again, I'm not trying to vote shame you or call you stupid for being frustrated with the duopoly or because you wanted to vote for Stein. I am specifically saying this person is a fucking liar. She's a fucking liar. I don't like politicians preying on people's sympathies, whether they're from a major party or from a minor party. I'm just worried about you, sweetie. Me and Dad are worried about you. Okay, are you doing okay? Are you eating well? That's it. Like, I'm mad from a good place for other people. But if you're a grifter who makes money from the Green Party and are upset at me, go fuck yourself. I doubt you'll be effective at doing anything to me because you guys aren't effective in any way except for spoiling shit. Fucking clowns. But anyway, that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments after my enormous monologue. Sorry, I hate con people. And that's our show. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Please, if you haven't already, follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I'm posting a lot more content there as well. Go sign up for Too Soon Crew. I'm gonna see if I can do reactions to the KSI song and the J. Cole song. But anyway, my name is Tabani. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see y'all soon. Let's go.